Hello folks. I'm going to do a subject that I've done at some point before, probably a few times. These videos that talk about the afterlife and talk about the fact that they went to heaven and all this stuff. I just did a video talking about the truth and courage are fading. Well, okay. With regard to these videos talking about the afterlife, one thing I will say is most of them are very tame. Yeah, they're not. When I say tame, I mean they're samey. But there's nothing that you'd think, wow. But what they say, nothing you think, wow, that's amazing. And if there's nothing that makes you think, wow, that is amazing, they were never in heaven. Their stories are just stories. Just stories. Because for me, if God is going to allow you to see heaven and to see something about his kingdom, it's going to be something that's going to be beautiful. It's going to be something that's going to be life-changing. Now, there is a few that I've watched that I thought, okay, that is life-changing. There was a lady who was addicted to drugs, and she overdosed and spent time in heaven, and then was sent back. And what she was shown there helped her to completely turn around her life, because she was shown that she had chosen certain elements of her life, and the good stuff that she had chosen hadn't happened yet. And then when she came back, she was still suffering from addiction, and God delivered that addiction. Basically, she could see the drugs coming out of the pores of her skin, where she had injected. She could see the heroin and whatever else she had partaken of being pushed out of her body, cleansed. And so, that story, okay, right, can't deny that. You can say that's a pretty impressive story. So, I'm not going to say that people haven't been to heaven. I'm going to say that probably 70% of the stories that you see on YouTube and other mediums of people that have been to heaven are lies. Which means that 30% of those stories are true. The problem is that anything you get of that, if you have a true story of someone who has died briefly, basically been between life and death, have experienced heaven, and come back and share something that is just wow. And you see that, and you see all these reporters interested in that person's story, and they're going on this interview, that interview, this interview, that interview, and everybody wants to talk to them, right? If you've got a bit of a lonely life, well, of course there is a temptation to get what they've got without going through what they went through. Because of course you can't control. You can't make yourself go to heaven. If people are going to heaven and being sent back because they're just being shown, and they went just to be shown, you can't make that happen. Only God can do that. And so therefore, people will lie, because stories benefit. People lie to the press all the time. You had that story in America, didn't you, where the parents were claiming that their child was lost, where the child was hiding out. They actually hid the child out to other people, and they knew what they were doing. They just wanted to have all that media. They just wanted to have all that attention. Fame. People desire fame. Some people desire people just to say, "Oh, I'm so sorry this happened. I hope you're okay, and we'll bring you around some food." And yeah. Bambi's sleeping. You can hear him dreaming. He's laying on my pillow. They're on my bed, and he's laying on my pillow, sleeping. All right. Anyway, as I say, with regards to all of that, I said years ago we had this Toronto blessing. It was the same thing. You had something real going on in Toronto. A real fire of God was being released in the area at that time. But then you had a lot of fake fires coming up. Fires that weren't of God. But people were claiming they were. Why? Because Toronto got an awful lot of attention. And a lot of people wanted what Toronto had without going all the way to Toronto. So as I say, yeah, in churches, well, King's Church in Chatham, Kent, I've said a lot of the good things they were doing, but at that time of Toronto Blessing, they were telling people that you could just start mumbling and keep on mumbling, and by mumbling, you will start speaking in tongues. Which is clearly, that's not biblical. No. But, again, it's fake. But it's people faking stuff because, getting the real takes effort, and it's far more difficult to get the real. So yeah, I've just been thinking recently today, because I've got to go to court on Tuesday about that incident that happened in December. The car mirror hitting that person. Yeah. I've just been thinking about that again. I'm thinking about the incredibleness of that. That it just so happened that on that day there were bins on the path that the person I hit had to walk around bins, and that's why he was exactly where he was when my car went on the path. And my car went on the path because there was frost above the visor, and when I had to put the visor down, yeah, and I realised actually something else that I didn't realise before. There were options. When there was water in my eyes, there were options. There were things that I could have done. The best option that I didn't think of at the time was to put my foot on the brake and slowly press down to bring the car to a halt. Gently, so the car behind can see that I'm stopping and they stop. Right? Then deal with the water in my eyes and then continue driving. Yeah? That's what I should have done. So why didn't I? And I realised the reason I didn't is because I stopped at the traffic lights, the sun was in my eyes. I thought, okay, put the visor down because it's really important to be able to see. And because I'd thought it's really important to see, when there was water in my eyes, it's really important to see was the priority. Rather than it's really important to stop the car before something happens because I can't see. Yeah, I wasn't thinking it's really important to be safe. I was thinking it's really important to see, because that was what my mindset was before, because I've tried to drive when the sun's in my eyes at times, and it really is blinking difficult to see. So you've got to put the visor down. Even though in the Civic I found that, well, because I'm only 5'7"-ish, yeah, when the visor was down, it was not easy to see because the visor was in the way. So it was a sort of, it was that thing of, okay, do I put the visor down or not? Yeah, partly because the seating position and the way the car was made and designed, For me, it was tricky when the visor was down to see because the visor was in the way, and yet when the sun was in my eyes, when the sun really was, and especially at that part of the road right there, the sun going down above the houses, really difficult to see because it's right in your face. You've got to put the visor down, and so be interesting to see what happens on Tuesday. I don't know. We shall find out. But as I say, it was one of those events that if I'd been 2 cars behind, I would have hit the railings that are, as the road curves, there's railings there. So I would have hit the railings because my wheel would have been straight as the water was coming into my eyes. Because of course there's water above the visor. So while you are stationary, the water doesn't move. As soon as you start moving forward, the water starts coming towards you, and the faster you're moving forward, the faster the water is coming towards you. And because where the visor is, the roof of the cars are designed that the visor, for some stupid, idiotic reason, I don't know why, but the visors, the roof is designed that the visor fits perfectly flat. So it makes the roof flat, basically. So there's an indent for the visor to go into, right? But therefore, with that indent, if there's water in the area, as the water's coming towards you, there is a ridge. That when the water hits that ridge, the water then falls down. Yes? Well, if you're moving pretty fast, it does, because the water's coming faster towards the ridge. It hits the ridge, comes down, rather than goes over the ridge and continues on the top of the roof. And so, had I been a few cars behind, I would have hit the railing because the water would have been in my eyes earlier. Had I been a few cars earlier, then I would have been on the straight of the road. Had there been traffic, we'd have been going so slowly that the water wouldn't have actually have come into my eyes at all, because it would have been moving forwards or moving towards me very, very slowly, if moving at all, because there would have been traffic. And by the time the water may have started coming towards me, time the car would have gone faster, I'd have put the visor back up again because the sun was no longer in my eyes. So, depending upon the conditions, depending upon where I was, would have depended upon what would have happened. And, again, if there had been bins on the path, but further down the road, I would have cleared my eyes by that point. Right? So, exactly where I came onto the path, because my wheel was turned slightly left, because the road was turning, so my wheel was turned slightly left for the turn. Exactly where I come on the road, that's where the bins were. So the person had to walk past the bins. There were no other bins on that road at all, just there. It is a case that, the slightest change, that wouldn't have happened. The slightest change, that wouldn't have happened. Yeah. But of course, if the sun had been in my eyes, I wouldn't have lowered the visor, therefore the water would have stayed where it was. Because the visor would have kept it there. Because once I raised the visor up, no water came into my eyes from that point. So the visor kept the water where it was. So, but as soon as you lower the sun visor, no, that's not stopping the water from moving, so therefore the water came down. Yeah. Yeah. So many things had to happen for that to happen. And everything happened perfectly. So, yeah. That makes me think that God wanted that to happen for a reason. Why, I do not know. I cannot see the full picture with regards to that, but given time I will. And on Tuesday, what happens on Tuesday will help me to see the picture. So exactly what is supposed to happen from this, I don't know. Time will very much tell. So there you go. You take care. God bless. Enjoy. Have a wonderful week. Be a blessed and be blessed. Bye bye.